Okay, so what do we do about this? Are there any steps that we can take to prevent this? And what kind of services do you offer? I know that even just hearing about this, and I know that you speak to groups, and it just feels like crucial information for people to know.
It definitely is.
So we know that you are available to speak to groups, which I hope you get out there and speak to tons of people. It just feels really important. But what can we do about this?
Well, the first thing to be aware of is that you cannot stop it from happening to you.
Okay.
And if anyone tells you they can prevent it for you, turn and run the other way, because it's simply not true.
Simply not true.
The key is to have something in place so that when and if it does occur, that you have a way to manage the situation. And there are 3 keys to look for in that situation as far as in a service to help protect you. Number 1, you need to have 24/7 credit monitoring. That will make you aware if an account opens in your name. It'll notify you if your address changes.
Oh.
I had a friend that had an 18-year-old son, lives in Castle Rock. His address changed to Phoenix, Arizona, which happens to be the #1 place in the U.S. for identity theft because they're so close to the border there.
Oh, right, okay. Sure.
And had he not been notified, he wouldn't have ever known, had he not been monitored.
Okay, so
it's a way to nip those things in the bud before they get really out of control.
Right.
The second key is to have a restoration policy. There's a lot of policies out there that are called reimbursement policies, and that simply means that you have to spend all the time and all the money to fix the problem, and then you turn in your expenses. And if the company that you are working with deems they're a viable expense, which they always have exclusions and those kinds of things and caps, then they'll reimburse you for those. But what most people don't realize is the biggest expense of identity theft is the time that it takes to try and fix the problem.
Yeah.
Right now, statistically, it's 600 personal hours. And just being in the industry, I can tell you how people have dealt with it for years, 6, 8, 10 years, trying to resolve the issue on their own. So,
oh my, it's incredible. It's mind-boggling.
It is.
And now what's the third?
The third is to have access to an attorney 24/7. So if there is a warrant out for your arrest, like the woman I told you about, it was 10 o'clock on a Friday night when the police showed up at her door. She needed an attorney in that moment, and having that conversation is the only thing that kept her out of jail that weekend. So having an attorney to write letters, make phone calls, help you in an emergency type situation if you're being detained, questioned, or arrested is a very valuable piece in that of what to look for.
Right. And so is that something that you sell, you represent?
It is. I represent a company that does provide all 3 of those things. There are options, different levels of protection.
Levels, and so you can, obviously when you are interviewing your potential client, if I were to be a potential client, I would get the whole explanation of what all the different packages offer, and then I can make a decision.
Absolutely. And that's a great question, because I had a woman yesterday that is very interested in identity theft protection, but she has access to an attorney. Some of us have friends and family members that are attorneys, so she doesn't need that piece.
Right.
So she was able to pick what she needs.
Right. And then it's like you pay like on a monthly basis,
it's
or
month
can
to
you
month.
have?
There is no long-term contract at all.
Right. Well, seems important.
It is very important these days. Times have changed.
Well, times have changed, and as a good business person, you have to deal with reality, not the fantasy of how it used to be. And we often hear people talking about the good old days or how it used to be, and it's just not reality anymore.
It's true.
And being in reality is very, very important to make good business decisions.
Right.
Just like when we get a credit card or open a bank account, we really need to know what we're signing up for. It's not like how it used to be.
It's true.
So just to switch gears a little bit, I'm interested in how you got into your business.
Okay.
And what did you do before? I think you've been doing this 9 or 10 years.
I've been doing this 9 years.
And then how did you get into that?
I was actually looking for something with a mom. I am a mom and had a young child, a daughter, and was looking for something that I could really work from home and set my own hours.
Okay.
I was taking her to daycare and carpool and really not liking someone else raising her more than I was with her. And so I just kind of kept my ear to the ground looking for something that was viable, and it was really important to me that I could help people at the same time.
Right.
So it took me a few years to find it, but I eventually did find it.
Yeah. Yeah. So your motivation was to have more time with your daughter, have more flexibility, make your own hours. and still make a living, which is why
Right.
a lot of people do go into business, though it sounds like you made some good choices because you're not the company, you're representing
That's
companies.
right.
So do you represent more than one company, or you
No,
just kind
the
of
one.
sole? Okay.
I'm an independent representative of that company, so it's my book of business, and
Right.
I can manage it how I see fit.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. And do you go to trainings by that company?
I sure do.
Is that so? It's an ongoing education for you, I would imagine, being as
Yes.
things change and kind of upgrade every day.
You have
every
to stay
day.
on top of it and
You really
remain
do.
educated.
Right,
for
so
sure.
that you can educate, because clearly that's your number one role. You're an educator.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's really fascinating, because I have known you for years, but I never really quite understood what you did. This really helps me. So, in line with that, we've met many times at marketing networking groups.
Yes.
And so, tell me about how you grew and continue to grow your business.
I have grown most of my business as far as my book of business on networking and getting out in the community, not only just going to networking events, but really getting to know people one-on-one. Because when you develop a relationship, that's when the referrals come, and that it may not be them that's your client, or maybe never ever will be your client, but they always know somebody that maybe could use your services.
Right.
Also, volunteering is a big part of what I do.
Where do you volunteer? What does that look like?
A lot of what I do is through the Boulder Chamber, and I actually just was honored with a great award for 2009,
What was that?
Member of Distinction. So,
And what is that?
It really just means that I have a passion to help other people and to get out in the community and make a difference.
So what do you do there for them?
I'm an ambassador
And what
for
is
the Boulder
that?
Chamber, and that's a basic role of an ambassador is to attend the events, not only helping with registration, but more than that, being focused on the new members and really grabbing them by the hand.
Because new members can fall through the cracks.
Absolutely.
Because it can be really overwhelming to go to big networking events.
Exactly. You walk in the room with 150 people and you don't know a single person. It's a bit overwhelming.
And everybody's chatting, and everybody seems to know everybody else. And networking is actually very hard to do if you don't have the right mindset.
That's correct.
So, what I've noticed over the years is if you walk into a room of 150 people, you are not going to talk to everyone.
That's true.
You pick and choose. Maybe if I talk to 5 people tonight, that would be great. Because it's, as you said, it's really about the relationship.
That's right.
And if you focus on that, I think it becomes a little less overwhelming. It becomes, maybe I'll only talk to one person tonight, but it's a contact. Now I will know a little bit about that person, they'll know about me. So let's talk a little bit about networking etiquette.
Okay.
So I've been to networking events where people are throwing cards at me, and it's all about them, and sometimes I'm interested if they seem interesting to me. But I have actually been at events where no one has asked my name and no one says, "What do you do?" Or "What are you here for?" or "What's your story?" or whatever. So can you give us because I know you've networked for years and having grown your business like that, what are some tips that you can give other business people when they enter a networking event?
The first thing is to find someone in the room that you know.
Oh, that helps.
That can introduce you
Yes.
to other people. The key thing for me is to exchange information, but through that process, and it might only be a 2-minute conversation, is to find out about them and show interest in them, because we have 2 ears to listen and 1 mouth to talk with.
Right.
So if you show interest in them and ask questions about them and their business and what interests them as far as hobbies and their work and those kinds of things, then they understand that you care.
Yes.
And if you don't care and are just there trying to sell them something,
Yes.
it'll turn them off. And
Right, because it turns us off. We don't like that.